Hi, I'm Dave Cut, and you're watching another Comic Chat. What's up, guys? Back again today with another great comic. Normally, I started out reading comics from DC, and just recently, like the past couple years, moved up to Marvel Comics, reading Spider-Man and getting into Moon Knight and Deadpool, to just a few months ago, starting to read Image Comics with Spawn. And now I'm on the Star Wars book gang. When I was at Comic-Con, I was walking around and I noticed this book, and the illustration in it is fantastic. And when I read it, it's a great story. So I thought, why not do a comic chat on it so we can all chat about it? So this is the story of Darth Maul. And this is a fantastic book too. From the illustration to the story, it really is a great book. It was my first Star Wars book. And this is the story of Darth Maul when he tries to test out his abilities by finding a Jedi, but the Jedi Padawan he finds ends up getting captured by someone else, so things get a little tricky. So this is the story of Darth Maul. And they start off with some variant covers, and this is Chapter 1. And it starts in the shadows. An ancient enemy stirs. The Sith, practitioners of the dark side of the Force, long thought destroyed, secretly work to undermine and eventually overthrow the Jedi Order, the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy. Two members of the Sith Order, Dark Sidious and his apprentice, Darth Maul, secretly await their moment to strike. But while Sidious plans an intricate series of deceptions and machinations, Maul grows restless. The moment of revenge is close at hand, and he is unwilling to wait much longer. And this story starts out in the jungles of Tuan Ki Ti, with a bunch of hunters who are hired to flush out some prey. But little did they know, they're kind of being hunted themselves. And it's all a little too late, as something starts drooling on one of their heads. And as they start to think they're the prey now, the whole team is swooped up by a giant Rathtar, who pretty much takes out the entire team, leaving only one, and in one fell swoop, he eats them, leaving nothing but the feet. But we can see the Rathtar is actually being stalked from the trees by another predator, who thinks fear, anger, hate. These mark the steps along the path to the dark side. These are the weapons of the Sith, and he is trained to use these weapons well. He is Darth Maul, as he leaps from the tree, with axe in hand, charges at the Rathtar. And Rathars are some of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. They're hungry, vicious, relentless, kind of like Maul, but yet they're so different. As he finally takes down this Rathtar, we see two more show up, because they're pack hunters. But Maul welcomes it, because when his amusement has reached its end, his bloodlust will still not be tempered. The thrill of the hunt, the rush of defying death, will pass all too quickly for him, because fighting Rathtars is a hollow meal. It's easy pickings for him. This is nothing but a test for him, a shadow of the destruction he will bring. If only the leash around his throat would loosen, and even though he takes down all of the Rathtars, he thinks hunger, the vicious and relentlessness, obedient to no one, he kind of envies their freedom. So back on Coruscant, we see Jedi, the peacemakers of the Galactic Republic, walking around talking to people, but being stalked by Darth Maul, as he thinks they're cowards, wallowing, nesting, hiding in the peace they enforce. Their strength is waning. Deep down, they know they cannot maintain order forever. And when their time begins to tumble into darkness, they will find him waiting for them. He's filled with so much hate. Yeah, you could see it in his eyes. They illustrated it perfectly, to the point where the Jedi could even feel a cold gaze watching them. And Darth Maul, he's endured great suffering as part of his training, all so that he could be an instrument of revenge, so that he could kill a Jedi. And as the Jedi search for the person watching them, Darth Maul, we see today is not the day that Darth Maul kills a Jedi, because he ran. And even though the Jedi are confused, they still trust in the Force, even though they found no one. But back at Darth Maul's HQ, he's getting scolded by his master. The games he plays could be the undoing of all of his plans, and his master's already cautioned him against contact with the Jedi. But Darth Maul continues to test his boundaries, even though his masters let him take on some of the most ruthless beings in the galaxy. But to toy with the Jedi is too much. And even though Darth Maul tries to tell his master that he was just trying to prove himself, he's ready, his master stops him and tells him, well, he's not ready. He has this grand scheme of plans that is going to unfold, but it's going to take time. And telling Maul that your anger and your thirst for vengeance makes you fearsome. But if he endangers his preparations and maneuvers again, it won't be a Jedi who casts him down. But he does have something for him to do, a little task to quench his bloodthirst in the meantime. Their allies had requested some assistance because while establishing a secret mining facility, one of their systems had run afoul with a particularly cunning fiction of pirates, and their droid defenses have been rendered inoperable by makeshift electrostatic field generators, and they cannot reach out to the Republic for aid without revealing their unsanctioned activities. Of course they're up to no good, and that's why they're turning to the dark side. So Darth Maul, of course, agrees to go and assures his master that his interest will be protected. But, as Palpatine says, of course, what else would he expect? So in the outer spaces of Cloaked, there's a huge battle going on. Ships blasting and flying everywhere. And just as one pilot thinks he's safe, proton torpedoes comes out of nowhere, and Maul comes crashing through in his ship, because the Sith work is done in the shadows. His existence must remain a secret, but there is rapture in the revelation, more scraps for his master's table. And his ship came out of nowhere because it was cloaked, and it just starts dropping mines, and just blows up the rest of the people there. Because all those years of training, all the punishment that he had to bear, it has taught him to hate, and yet his loathing cannot be vented. And on the surface of this planet, the allies that Darth Maul was sent there to help come charging into their enemy's base, saying it would be prudent for them to surrender because they have powerful allies. But his enemies aren't really afraid of that. I mean, it's just one ship out there, but they're kind of interrupted by one of their men dead in space, flying and floating and hitting the outside of the window. And just like that, Maul's already on the ship and blasting through the door as they get ready to prepare some sort of defense. But really, they have no time at all because Maul's already through the door. And as they start blasting at him, it's pretty easy work for him to take him out. As he's thinking to himself, he has this urge to give into his passion, his unease, and yet his master commands him to bide his time. And slaughtering all these pirates and hunting beasts will only distract him from so long from what he truly wants, to kill a Jedi. I mean, Maul's not even breaking a sweat using the double light sword, killing everybody. He knows he's the keenest blade that his master has in his arsenal. And yet he thinks he'll grow dull through disuse. His frustrations, his anxieties, his desire to test himself against true Jedi only deepens as he goes to kill the last one. He tries to plead for his life because he does have information and he does notice the lightsaber, but he doesn't really know the color meaning because he thinks Darth Maul is a Jedi. I mean, the Sidious are still in hiding. But he tells Darth Maul about a Jedi Padawan that had been captured and was about to be auctioned off to a winning bidder. The only problem was, he didn't really know where it was, but still wanted to know if it was enough to get Maul to spare his life. But it seems that the information only saved him from the lightsaber, as Darth Maul kicks this dude in the face and breaks his neck from it. As Darth Maul thinks, a Padawan learner, an apprentice like himself, held prisoner and offered up for a sacrifice to the highest bidder. Seems too perfect, right? As his allies come to thank him for what he's done, telling him he's been greatly rewarded, Darth Maul says, it's a pity. The pirates had killed everyone on board before he had arrived, plunging the lightsaber through his ally's chest and flying away because his master had secrets. But so did Darth Maul. And this Padawan, a student of everything he had come to loathe, who awaits a liberation, He knows the Jedi will come after them, but he also knows they'll be too late, because he's gonna get to them first. Dude is truly evil. He killed everyone for no reason, even his allies. As we can see another variant cover for the Chapter 1, and that brings us to Chapter 2. So Maul went to the place that he was told, looking for the Padawan, Nar Shaddaa. And this is a place of secrets, mysteries as deep as space itself. Many go there to lie low, to seek sanctuary and place where everyone has something to hide. Others come to uncover these hidden truths, to better understand that which they were not meant to know at all. They say you can buy almost anything here on the Smuggler's Moon, if you are willing to pay with your life. But that was a price Maul was not willing to pay. As he walks into the tavern, he knows his life only ends when the rage has been vented, when his need for vengeance is satisfied. He knows it's going to be a long life, and an oh, so cold one. As he sits down at the bar, the bartender tells him that he can tell when a person is looking for information. There's a certain shift in the air, and Darth Maul only utters one name, Zeev Zrexis. But the bartender shrug it off and just try to make small talk, saying, "Oh, you're a fellow Zabrak." But Maul cuts him off and saying, "You don't know me," and repeats the name one more time, Zeev Zrexis. But again, the bartenders kind of just shrug it off and tell him their patrons don't really appreciate people asking questions, and they would prefer it if he just left quietly. And even one of the other patrons step in and says, "Listen, you don't say that name around here. The only people that say that name are people that are asking for trouble, like the Jedi." And he even questions Maul. "Are you some sort of Jedi lackey?" And dude, bomb drop. Why would you say that to Maul, bro? Like, we all know what's gonna happen. So next thing you know, Maul's crashing through the front window with a bunch of people in tow, kicking everybody's butt. But in truth, he did expect these guys to remain silent. He does have other means of gathering his intel, but if there's one thing he loathes more than the accursed Jedi, it's waiting. And as the rest of the patrons start to surround it, he instinctively reaches for his lightsaber, because with it in hand, it would honestly be over in an instant. But he can't reveal his true nature. I mean, these people hold no loyalty to anyone. If his master were to learn of his disobedience, the punishment would be severe. Like, he kind of snuck off to go do this. His master doesn't even know he's here. And as Maul's taking on this crowd of people, a squid-faced alien comes up behind him and blasts him with ink in his eyes. And as he's blinded, they beat him down to his knees. And just as the alien that blinded him is about to pull the trigger and put a hole through that horned head of his, Maul uses the Force and sends a knife flying, stabbing him in the chest, killing him. As the rest of the people think he was just fast and they never even saw him through the knife. They say it doesn't matter, as they get ready to fire on him. They're all instantaneously taken out at once. As Maul just stands there, thanking them for the help, but says, "You could have stepped in a little earlier." As we can see, the people step up who help them are famous bounty hunters, Aurora Singh, Cad Bane, and Fordelio, who tell him it looked like he had matters in hand, but this kill is going to go on his tab. And they're here to help, because they actually found what he was looking for. They negotiated passage and an invitation to the little party Zeev Zrexis is throwing. But the Jedi are also in the same town, and they're getting a little too close for comfort. And sooner or later, they're going to be where they are now, so they kind of have to leave the area. So on the way back to the bounty hunter ship, they give Maul the lowdown about how Zeev's a really smart one. She's already set up decoy events to distract the law dogs and rented out public space just outside the Republican. And that getting the invitation and the location was a little more tough than they thought, and they had to be a little more forceful. As we see back at the ship, the last member, called Tech, is a saboteur and a droid specialist who takes a little too much joy in his work, is working on a droid, trying to get the information that they want. And Maul approaches the droid, questioning it, what its designation is. The droid tells Maul that it's Phoebe 13 and its former masters used to call it Phoebe. and he understands the question, he just doesn't have the answer for him. And Maul tells it that maybe you just don't remember the answer. As he pulls out its last eye, Maul tells it it's a mercy, so that it won't be able to see what Tech does to it next. And that was enough to break the bot. It just says, all right, I'll tell you what you want to know. So the bot leads them to where Zrexis is having this auction at the Drazkul system, where everything seems to check out. Their invitation's been accepted, everything's good. But when the droid asks to be shot into space since he told the truth, Tech tells him, oh, he's coming with them. He's nowhere near done with it. And the other bounty hunters start to question their employer, Darth Maul, seems more than capable of handling this mission by himself. But Cad tells them that their suspicions are probably right, because it seems more like they're a patsy than an ally. But there's still a lot of money to be made, especially around this space station. So in Maul's room, he's meditating, getting ready to face the Jedi, thinking about a time in the past when his master took him to a temple, a place he had seen in his dreams. And as they walk further and further into the temple, his master tells him it was here, on this dead world, that the Jedi struck a terrible blow against the Sith. Many of their order were struck down, all because they wanted to be free. As a dust cloud from one of the statues poofs out toward Maul, his master tells him to breathe it all in. Breathe in the ash of the empire that came before. Let the hate fill you. And Maul is flooded with all the previous Sith that were cut down by the Jedi as he tries to concentrate far above, far below. We don't know where we'll fall. Far above, far below. What once was great is rendered small. This was the mantra I was taught to help me focus my hate and my anger, to help me endure, as the Sith before me had endured treachery and untold pain. Their liberty stripped from them, stolen by the murderous Jedi. The Jedi, so proud of their lack of emotion, ironically so afraid of those who saw it a different way. Cowards and assassins, one and all. Treacherous hypocrites. Maul felt the burn of 1,000 cuts, the deaths of 1,000 Siths, and they were all made stronger in him as he comes to the realization that the Sith deserve their revenge. He deserves his revenge. And no man, no Jedi, no master will deny him. As we see, he finally shows up to the auction, just as it's about to start. As everybody gathers around, we see Zrexis start to kick off this little soiree. And she starts out with the story of how some scavengers who were employed by her picked up on a vessel that had been shot down by pirates. Almost everyone on board, including the Jedi Knight escort, was killed in the crash. But there was one survivor, and that's who they were all there tonight to bet on. This Eldra Catis, a Jedi Padawan. And as she admits, even though it's not as good as a Jedi Master, she's sure that they could all find a use for a Jedi Knight in training, and gives everybody 2 hours to decide their bidding, before wishing everybody luck and exiting. And of course, Maul's not waiting for this, so he's already up in the air vents, and he knows everybody has their own reasons for wanting the Padawan, but none could possibly rival his own. And he knows his master has plans within plans, and he has all of this patience, but this patience just kind of goes right over Maul's head. He doesn't have the patience for this. But with this, he could find a way to placate that anger that broils within him. And his master didn't really need to know, because if he got caught, he probably would not survive the insubordination. As he drops down from the air vents to see none other than the Jedi Padawan being held captive. He thinks he's never been so close to his enemy, so close to tasting the retribution as he is now. As she questions, who are you supposed to be? We can see some variant art from Chapter 2. So that brings us to Chapter 3. I mean, this is it. This is everything that Maul has been waiting for. Standing face to face with his most hated enemy. His revenge close at hand. Savoring the moment when her defiance melts away. Replaced by a grin of revelation as he sparks to life his lightsaber. Glowing red. She doesn't fully understand who it is that stands before her as she questions who. What are you? He strikes the barrier, holding her captive. And nothing but cold fear uncoils within her. She understands on a primal level. The Sith have returned. He's interrupted by Zeev, who comes in. Questioning this egregious violation of protocol, he quickly hides his lightsaber. She tells him, "You're not allowed in here. This is strictly off limits." And Maul quickly has to come up with a lie, just saying his actions were rash and he apologizes, but he had to see the Padawan firsthand before the auction. And she tells him his actions were rash indeed. Her guests would be so disappointed if one of the other bidders could afford some privilege that they were not. It's simply just bad for business. And she questions who he is, and he tells her that his name is Saris Medrith from the Hedrix Consortium. As she laughs and saying Consortium, let's call them who they are. They're a gang, and they probably wouldn't be too pleased with your actions, running off and doing this unauthorized excursion. As Maul just tells her that it would be best if they just kept this between us. She tells him, I don't see why not. Keep this our little secret, as long as it doesn't happen again. I mean, she doesn't want to have to vaporize them or anything. So back on the ship, Maul's patience is running thin, as he thinks he's always patient, and about how his master would probably find his plans amusing if he knew. The droid has some unfortunate news that with the funds they have on board, it's unlikely that they're going to make the winning bid. That the mere probability of their chance of winning the bid is barely worth mentioning. But the droid tells them that its former masters didn't really plan on winning the auction. They planned on raiding them. They planned on taking the Padawan and robbed all the other guests while they were at it. And even though that sounds like a good plan and all, it leaves too many variables, and Maul's trying to get a clean getaway. As clean a getaway as their backup plan would allow, as the droid kind of tries to get out of it, telling him that, hoping that he's excluded from this endeavor. Tech tells him, oh no, you're not going to be excluded. So why don't you rerun those numbers and see who's going to be the lucky winner after this. So back at the party, the auction is just about to start to kick off, and Maul is feeling overwhelmed with anxiousness and anger, hatred, strong enough that even those around him that don't know the Force could probably still feel it too, as Maul thinks that even Eldra Catis must be drowning in her overwhelming dread. And despite the plans that Maul already has set in motion, he just has this urge to kill everyone in the station and cut his way toward his prey. Because that's the way Darth Sidious trained him to act. And in denying him that nature betrays Darth Maul. And so, Darth Maul betrays his master by being there at all. But if he is caught, his punishment will be severe. And if he were to kill Maul, he would be denied his right, his chance to kill the hated Jedi. So, he must bide his own time for his plans to unfold. And in that way, he is more like his master than he realized. As Zeev starts the opening bidding with 500,000 unmarked credits. So, Maul's plan gets set into motion. As the bidding starts out, someone agrees to the 500,000. As the bounty hunters sneak onto the ship's loading bay, bidding continues. 750, 900, 1 million credits, 2 million credits. The bounty hunters sneak onto a ship, as they say not to use blasters because they're not trying to draw any unwanted attention. As someone bids 2.5 million credits, we can see the bounty hunters taking out his fellow crewmates on the ship. And after 2.5 credits, the auction's at a stop. So Zeev offers up the fact that the lightsaber is included, but there was no other additional bids. So it went once, it went twice, and she was sold to G. Kra. As we can see Tech and the droid sneaking onto the ship with the other bounty hunters. Someone else is watching them, saying, let Zeev Zrexes know she was right. They took the bait. And after G. Kra won the Padawan and the lightsaber, he's out of there quick. Even though Zeev might be throwing a party to console the losing bidders, he doesn't care. He got both his prizes. Eldra tells him to be careful with the lightsaber. She doesn't want to see him burn his face off. He tells her that she's got spunk, she's feisty, but he has ways of tearing spirit and resolve away from prisoners. And he's sure that he's interrupted as he says, "What's the meaning of this?" He's met by Maul and the bounty hunters. As Maul says, "Is it possible that you actually thought you might get away with this? Did you truly believe that you could just purchase a Jedi Padawan and walk away without repercussions? He would not allow such transgression." As G'Kar questions him, "Who are you supposed to be?" They notice the door closing behind him, locking them all in together. As Maul charges at G'Kar, draping his cloak around his face as it locks around him. The Padawan could tell that Darth Maul is using the Force. And the rest of the crew just start to leave, even leaving G'Kar there. But none are safe. Maul's out to get everyone. As the Padawan comes to a realization that now she knows who he is, what he is. And as Maul finishes the last one, the Padawan questions him. You are... And he cuts her off saying, "You know nothing. Nothing about who I am. Nothing about what I want." But Ezra tells him she's not afraid of him. Even with all that jumping and fighting and all of that, what he really wanted to use was... And he cuts her off saying, "We're leaving now. We need to get up into space before what we've done is discovered." So Maul leads the Padawan to a room to be locked away. She questions him. You're a Sith, aren't you? I've heard rumors since I was a youngling, but I didn't think you were real." Maul tells her, "Of course not. You prayed you would never stand before your nightmares made flesh." She tells him, "You think I'm scared? You're the one who's lurking in the shadows, keeping who you really are a secret. You're the one who's scared." Damn. I mean, she's sounds like she ain't scared. She's giving it right back to him. And she really must have pissed Maul off, because he starts reciting his mantra. Far above, far below. We don't know where we fall. Far above, far below. What once was great is rendered small. And she interrupts him with, "I don't really need to hear your nursery rhymes. If you're gonna kill me, just get it over with. And you know what? Better yet, cut me free and give me my lightsaber. And we'll see how all that spinning and leaping helps you against an equal." And Maul says, "You are not my equal. No Jedi can match my skill, my fury, my righteousness. And trust me, my dear, I will cut you free. I will hand you your lightsaber. And then, I will have my revenge." Damn, dude. Maul's got so much hate and fury in him. It's crazy. And as they jet off into space, the bounty hunters seem pretty relaxed, even though that they had their doubts about their employer Maul. Cade tells them that they just need to get to a safe port before they can cut ties, one way or another with Maul. Because there's no such thing as easy money, and they might have to kill him. And back at the hall, we could see that Tech was stuck with carcass duty. As a countdown starts happening. 4, 3. The robot picks up on it, trying to tell Tech, we might be running out of time. As the ticker goes to 2. As Tech questions, like, "What do you mean there's a countdown?" It goes down to 1. Tech yells out to the rest of his crewmates, "Brace yourselves, take cover, get..." And it blows up in perfect view of Zeev. As one of her butlers comes in and says that the vessel has been disabled as she requested and is on a rapid descent to the moon, as she tells the butler to alert the guests. The hunt begins shortly. Buy-in is 350,000 credits. Ooh, okay, so we get to see a movie variant Darth Maul picture. That's kind of cool. I like that one. I was going to say he looks just like in the movie. I like that. And that brings us to Chapter 4. So, on the moon of Draskell, they crash landed, but everyone's still alive. They can't fly the ship anymore, but that seems to be Zrexi's motive anyway, as she addresses the rest of the guests as saying, "I know many of you were disappointed when you did not place the winning bet, but when one door closes, another opens." She says most of them were planning on killing her anyway, so why not make a game out of it? Compete against one another for bragging rights, a shiny new trophy that they could show off to everyone. A Padawan dead at their feet. But this was a pay-to-play scenario, so the sooner they pay, the sooner they could be planet-side to claim their prize. As we can see, the bounty hunters, Maul, and the Padawan find out that the charge was set from inside, that they just wanted to disable the ship. They wanted to keep the Padawan alive. But they need to get off that planet soon, because they have a ton of ships inbound. As Cad realizes that Zeev is just making sport out of them. They kind of made her look bad by the way they took the Padawan, so she's trying to save a little face and make some profit off of it. As the Padawan panics, "They're hunting me." Maul just tells her, "You were gonna die either way. You were destined to die from the moment you set foot in the Jedi Temple. But they were hunting all of us." She smiles and just tells Maul, you kind of brought it on yourself." So they decide to split up. The hunters would most likely be interested in the pond, so Maul's gonna lead them away, and that should give the bounty hunters just enough time to requisition one of those ships / steal. The plan is kill anyone that gets in their way, scuttle any ship they don't need, and that way they can leave a few stranded on that desolate moon, just like they did to them. And Cat says that's not a bad idea. But what makes you think that they're gonna actually wait? Maul tells him he's willing to pay the hazard pay that he had mentioned earlier. I mean, Maul really doesn't care about money. He only cares about revenge. And money talks, so Cat agreed, and he goes to round up his team, and that's when they realize that Tech-Tech's gone, but Aurora says he probably just got himself vaporized during the explosion. Lucky him. But then we see Tech-Tech wasn't killed, he was just very badly injured and blasted into a cavern with the droid. And with what little strength Tech-Tech has, he crawls to the robot, pleading for it to help him. "Don't just stand there, help him." The droid tells him, "Help you? My word. Such a strange request. I so dearly wish to help, but I'm afraid I would be useless in this situation. Perhaps if I still had my eyes." Damn, even robots called. I mean, kind of deserved it. Tortured a robot, but as Maul leads the hunters away with the Padawan, he thinks he's been wrong. All this time, he thought it was anger. A hunger for vengeance against the accursed Jedi that compelled him onward. Those desires are a part of him, and he will see the Jedi pay for what they did to the Sith. But he's not driven by those feelings. It is anticipation that moves him forward to his inevitable goal. It is excitement, as he can tell that they are all closing in on him. As Eldra pleads with him to set her free, that she could help him. Let her at least defend herself, because if not, he runs the risk of those hunters killing her before he gets the chance to himself. So Maul raises his fist and smacks the cuffs off of her wrists and hands her her lightsaber. And he bursts out his lightsabers as they stand back to back against a common enemy. Eldra tells Maul, "May the Force be with you." And Maul just says, "Spare me. I do not need your Jedi platitudes. The Force is always with me." And they both just start going ham against these hunters. As Maul starts to think, she must have suspected my nature. She must have sensed my power, my hatred. And in her, he felt no fear. And this pleased him, because he could tell she was well trained, and she probably would have been a Jedi Knight pretty soon. But when he kills her, he will know the satisfaction of taking a Jedi's life. The first of many. He knows she's watching him, taking his measure, and he is taking hers. He knows she has accepted her fate, or resigned him to his. I mean, I don't know, both of them were killing a bunch of people. And we see some other hunters who kind of look like Bosk, if you guys know who Bosk is, following some tracks, trying to be the first people to take down the Jedi. But the tracks lead to Cad, who tells them to drop their weapons and he's gonna face their boss one-on-one. And the boss accepts and says, if he wins, let him walk. But after he drops his gun, the others just ambush him, stabbing him and sniping him. Even Cad pulls a Star-Lord and flies up, shooting him, telling him, "You best believe I was faster on the draw than your boss. But that don't mean I'm gonna play fair," killing them all. So while Maul and Eldra are on the run from the other bounty hunters, Eldra starts asking Maul about the other Siths. I mean, she thought they were all gone. And Maul tells her, yeah, they're dead, mostly, thanks to the Jedi. And she asks Maul, why after all this time, after all this secrecy, would they risk spoiling that for her? And Maul tells her his existence will remain a secret. And she tells him, you know, she could have run. She could have slipped away during the fight. And Maul tells her that even if she wasn't a Jedi, he knows she wouldn't have given in to her fear like that. So she stops and just says, let's do this. Let's get this over with. And he tells her that this is a rite of passage. And it won't be sullied by bullies and thugs. But she knows that it's really because he just doesn't want any witnesses. That's why he sent away the bounty hunters. And she could tell that he's hiding from someone. She could feel it. as she questions him, "Who are you afraid of?" As he just walks away in anger. And he's always angry. So later, as they're taking out the rest of the bounty hunters after him, Maul can sense hatred in the Padawan. He can see it in her actions. And maybe in another time, in another place, she might be tempted to the dark side. They could have been allies potentially. But by coming there, her choice was taken away, because Maul's master can never know he was there. So he has condemned her, as they finally finish taking out the rest of the bounty hunters. Eldra tells Maul, "We don't need to be enemies. We don't have to fight. You don't have to give yourself over so completely to this darkness." And Maul just tells her, "If you believe that, you are not the Jedi I thought you were." And with that, she just wanted to give him one last chance before she says he gets humiliated and then killed. That's all. As Maul questions her, "Is that the same chance your Jedi predecessors gave the Sith?" And with that, she says, "Alright then." In the dead of night, they square off. Lightsabers burn bright, blue and red, because at last it is time for what Maul has been waiting for. So that brings us to the final chapter, Chapter 5. Love that artwork. And this story starts out in the space station over the moon of Dreskel, where Rex is getting reports that all of the bounty hunters have pretty much been killed, and the ones that haven't been are starting to flee. But Xerxes says, as long as their payments have cleared, what's a little bloodshed? I mean, after all, that is what they paid for. Back to Eldra and Maul, clashing lightsabers, and this is it. This is the moment that Maul has risked everything for. He's been training his whole life for this. His rage has been honed into a weapon serving one purpose, to kill Jedi. Yet, he had been ordered to wait and bide his time, to muzzle his anger. In secrecy, he stalked his enemy. And if his master learned of his betrayal, all his training would be for naught. Yet, as lightsaber flares against lightsaber for the first time, he knows one thing is for sure. It was well worth it, because Eldra Kattis is cunning, fast, strong with the Force, but she is not equal to Maul. She is like all other Jedi to Maul, inferior, as he kicks her to the ground and charges at her. Because this was the fight that he needed to prove himself. That is why she must die. And while they're fighting, the bounty hunters are trying to figure out which ship they should steal and which ships they should damage. But it's between the ship that makes them most money or the ship that'll get them out of there the fastest. So they choose a ship, throw some smoke bombs, and start attacking. As they say, easily take out the guards. And as Cad went after one ship, Aurora and Vordelio go after the other. As Vordelio tells Aura to leave some alive so he could have a snack on the way. And as they take off, Cad catches up, and they plan to wait for Maul but take out the other ships while they're waiting, assuming he lives. Because back at the fight, Eldra and Maul are kind of at a draw, as Maul thinks, she surprises me, takes advantage of my overconfidence. He thought she was finished, defeated before the battle had even started, but he misjudged her. He underestimated her spirit, as he tells her, yes, this is the battle I've wanted. I mean, this Padawan was giving Maul a run for his money. She really demanded his full attention, if not his respect. A lapse in concentration, one misstep, and she'll cut him down. I mean, she defends, yeah, but he can see it in her eyes, in her movements. Eldra Kattis is biding her time, waiting for a perfect instant which to strike. And in that way, she is more like the Sith than he would have liked to expected. As she tells Maul, she's not gonna let him butcher her down. And even if she did, she's not a Jedi Knight. It wouldn't be the same satisfaction for him. She's just a Padawan. As they trade blows and Eldra takes the high ground before Maul flies over and kicks her back. Still thinking about how she would have made perfect Sith Lord if he could turn her to the dark side. But he couldn't risk her surviving. If his master had learned of his betrayal, it would be the end of him, as she force pushes him back into a wall. Maul thinks about how he can't focus. He keeps thrilling this prospect that dances through his mind. Will all Jedi and Jedi Knights and Padawans alike present such a worthy challenge? As Eldra throws her lightsaber as it lands just above Maul's head, embedding itself into the rock. Maul tells her, a wasted effort. If you're going to throw your weapon, Make sure you hit your target. And she smiles and tells him, I wasn't throwing it at you. As the wall behind Maul rumbles and crashes, burying him underneath piles and piles of rocks. As Eldra gathers her lightsaber and stands proudly atop the rock pile, Maul bursts through the rocks and plunges his lightsaber through her chest. He tells her, make no mistake, Eldra Catis, you are a Jedi. As she drops her lightsaber. And just like that, it is done. Maul has killed his first Jedi, the first of many. Her light has been snuffed out, and Maul is conflicted by the way he feels as she lies on the floor in front of him. And as Maul walks away, he finds the droid with the eyes broken out, who mistakes him for a friendly person, as we all know he's not, and cuts down the droid. And Maul kind of expected the bounty hunters to abandon him, but they didn't. They were still waiting. It appeared that he underestimated them as well. I mean, the Force isn't strong with them, but their desire for payment is. And Maul does say that they will be well compensated, but he says he is also not going to travel with them. So, we go back to the spaceport, where Zrixis is calling out to her many countless so attentive servants for more wine because she's gone dry. But Maul enters and tells her that they're all dead. As she says, of course they are. If she knew that she had such little time left, she would have requested a better vintage, as she continues to drink her wine. She even tries bartering for her life, but Maul tells her her money's useless. And that's when she questions, is this about the Padawan? And of course Maul gets mad, telling her he does not seek to avenge the Jedi. He would never do such a thing. The reason he is here is simple. He's here for revenge. And that's when Zexes realizes who he is, what he is. And she says that she thought that they had died out long ago. He ignites his lightsaber and tells her to say it. Give him a reason to strike her down. As she says, the Sith. So back on Coruscant, Palpatine questions Maul if he feels satisfied. You know, now that he's killed a Padawan, does his bloodlust feel filled? And Maul's shocked that his master knew, but his master just tells him that of course he knew. He's the one that set him on the path. As Maul realizes that it was a trial, that it was a test of his loyalty, and he had failed. Palpatine tells him, have you? The Sith were born in defiance. You have but embraced the very nature of our order. And so I ask you again, are you satisfied? And Maul tells him, no. And Palpatine says, good. So, at long last, Maul knows what it feels like to take a Jedi's life. He did not foresee it, though. He expected to be fulfilled, at least momentarily, by the act. But his rage, his hatred, was only intensified. Eldra Catis died, and he only felt more empty. An emptiness that he's only been trained to fill in one way, by slaying the Jedi. Eldra Catis may be the first, but now he must wait, as that is the end. As we see a little bonus comic of the probe droid problem, where a ship lands and a bunch of droids get sent off to scour the planet, where one notices a noise coming from a hole, where it finds a trapped robot under a boulder, and it seemed not to be able to help it. But try after try, the other robot hangs onto the little robot, is able to free the robot from the boulder and lift it out of the hole, and safely on the ground, where the bigger bot thanks it, pats it on the back, and the little bot's off in a hurry. Just as fast as it hurries away, hurries right back, because it got attacked and thrown in the scrapper, where a giant explosion happens, where somehow the bigger robot came back for the little robot, and just like that, they're friends and zoom off. And the little robot tells the other robots about its new friend that it saved, and who saved it. But it was time for them to go home, so they leave the bigger robot standing there. But the little robot comes back as the ship zooms away, as they're stranded there together. The end. Okay, they got some Darth Maul action figures in the back of this one, variant by John Tyler Christopher. Nice, that's cool. They got the Star Wars Darth Maul 1 Darth Sidious action figure variant by John Tyler Christopher. That's really cool. This book came out in 2017. They even got the Han Solo movie. Ooh, they got the Star Wars Lando cover. Okay, that's pretty cool. The Star Wars Chewbacca, both on sale now. I mean, this was 2017, so of course they're on sale. Ooh, even Princess Leia. Okay, not bad, pretty good art. And then we have the back, where excellent writing and detailed visuals make this a must-own series. And I gotta admit, Star Wars Darth Maul, it was my first Star Wars book, and I loved it. It was great. Everything about it, the illustration, the story. Honestly, I kind of thought he was gonna let her go, but in the end, he's ruthless. He ended up killing everybody on that planet. That was wild. Yeah, it's too bad they never fixed the droid's eyes, because he probably would have saved Tech. And it was kind of cool to see, like, it looked like Bosk the Hunter's people were in there. So I don't know if you guys know Bosk, but I play as him in Battlefront 2, and that was great. And I've also seen those bounty hunters before. I'm just not too sure on who they are, so if anybody knows and fills in the gaps, that would be great. Same with the Rathtar in the beginning. But this is my first of many Star Wars books. I loved it. It was a great book. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for hanging out. Next time, have a good one.